Do you want to start? Do you want me to start?
Whatever you want to do. This is your... you make the choice.
I'll start. Hi everybody, welcome back to Game Mads. It's Matt Palmer.
And it's Matt Steele.
And this week was a week that I had been dreading for quite a while. I remember when I read the Sundance review of Leaving Neverland, the new documentary by Dan Reed, I believe the director's name is, about Michael Jackson profiling two of his alleged victims of his child sexual abuse, Wade Robson and James Falchuk, I believe his name is.
No. Falchuk, no.
Safe Chuck.
Safe Chuck. I was like, no, it starts with an S.
Okay. I heard that it was 4 hours long. I heard there was an intermission in which there were people, like psychologists, in the fucking lobby to be able to talk to people if they were too distraught.
I didn't know that.
Yes. And there were people to speak to in the middle of the...
I mean, honestly, after I was done with part one, I was like, I might need to speak to a therapist myself.
Like, how could you not? The part one especially is so grueling because that's really when you get into the details of like the full-blown relationships he had as like a 30-year-old man with these 7-year-olds, and I don't know, how did you feel about it, Matthew?
Okay, so I went into it with an open mind, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna sit down, I'm gonna watch this. I can't believe each part is 2 hours long. What could they possibly talk about for this long? And I not once did I ever feel like, oh, this is information we don't need. Every moment I was just totally invested. I don't even know where to begin. It starts off with talking about these two young boys and how they first met Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson really befriended not only these boys, but like their entire families. I had no idea the extent of which he had infiltrated these people's lives.
Right.
Like, I always thought, I didn't know much about the Michael Jackson cases. I was, young when, they all happened. But I had always thought, like,
you weren't that young in 05.
I was still young in 05,
bitch? I don't know.
I just thought, like, oh, it was, kids that occasionally they went to Neverland Ranch maybe once or twice. I had no idea these were full-on relationships that he was having with these boys.
And you just see the way that he is grooming not only the boys, obviously, but also the family members. He had, like, his makeup person's like, oh, he's like a 9-year-old boy himself, like, he's so harmless. He was calling Wade Robson's mother on the phone, sending them faxes every day, saying, like, oh, and not only is it, like, the most famous person in the world, by a long shot, more famous than any pop star will ever be ever again, is saying, you have made my life so much better. I was so lonely. We prayed that James would have a break in his career, and he's like, I prayed to find a friend like James.
And how James's mother Michael would spend the night in their tiny suburban home, and she would like do his laundry.
Right.
Like Michael was essentially like her child as well. Like he was a member of the family, and it's just so heartbreaking to see, you look at someone like Wade Robson, you see a little boy discover Michael Jackson at such a young age and develop a passion and have so much talent. Michael Jackson inspired his entire career, which is a legendary career. Like, he choreographed for the pop boom of the late 90s, early 2000s. Just as we were once young people who had those passions ourselves, and I was able to relate to that so much. And just imagining, my idol, someone who I looked up to so much, doing that to me is just insane. It's so interesting because you watch the whole documentary, you watch all 4 hours, and you still see in the interviews like how much, even though they know like Michael Jackson, did these horrible things to them, and you sort of see how much they kind of still not admired him, but like the sort of complicated feelings they still had towards him, because he did mean so much to them as like a friend and a mentor and a person. It's horrible.
The first part is a lot about their relationships that had happened, and there's obviously a lot of very graphic sexual things that are very tough to hear. It's very disturbing to hear about how, you know, this 30-year-old man was masturbating in front of these children, and, you know, they were performing oral sex on each other, and it was gross and awful and disgusting in those kind of ways. But for some reason, there are moments in which, like, you hear that he and James had this, like, faux wedding ceremony.
Oh, that was the worst
James
part.
pulls out the rings, and it's just like, this is so deeply sick. Like, this is so disgusting, and you see the ring doesn't even fit on, like, his smallest finger anymore because he's a fucking adult. And it's like, I don't know. I just feel like there are still so many people out there who watch this and are saying, oh my god, how do you, like, Michael's not here to defend himself, how could you not believe these people? But it's like, if you watch this documentary and the level of detail that's being described and the fact that their stories line up so much, and I think until the premiere, they had never really spoken to each other about this. Like, and you really truly believe they both have invented these stories out of nowhere just to, like, bring Michael down who's dead? Like, no, like this.
And like, what are they really getting from this documentary? It's like
they didn't get paid for this documentary. They didn't get paid for these interviews. Like,
yeah, it's especially since, you know, Wade Robson did try to have like a case against him and everything and lost. So there's nothing more he can gain from this.
And again, I am a person who loved Michael Jackson. If you've been watching our videos from like the dawn of time, you know that I have 4 framed posters in my room that used to be the background of 2 gay mats, and Michael Jackson's Thriller is one of them. I was an 8-year-old boy who was obsessed with Michael Jackson, and like, I don't know. It's just a crazy thing to think about because it's like I related to Wade's love of Michael and so much, but to me, I can't be a person who just believes victims when it is relating to people that I don't care that much about, like an R. Kelly or like a Bryan Singer. It's like, of course you're gonna believe those victims because, like, fuck Bryan Singer's movies, and like I can live without R. Kelly's music. But like, this is like, I can't just pick and choose because I have loved Michael Jackson's music my entire life, but after I watch this, it's like, I'll never listen to that again. Not on purpose. I will be out, it'll play, I'll know the words, but I cannot. And it's a little complicated because he's dead now, so it's like listening to R. Kelly where you're literally funding like the torture and capture of girls that are still currently in his clutches. But how could I listen to that and not think, oh, this is bad, this is the era in which he was with Wade, and like, this is when, oh, Black and White, that's when Macaulay Culkin came in the picture and kind of took Wade and James' spot. And
that was like, so bizarre. That whole section of the documentary.
They're dealing with these very adult human emotions that they shouldn't have to be dealing with because it's like, they don't have the capacity to understand what's going on. They didn't even, you know, because it's not like the kind of rape that like, oh, I'm pushing you up against the wall and forcing myself inside you. They didn't realize that what was happening was inappropriate.
Yeah, and it's so interesting because, like, you know, especially like Wade Robson talking, like, he didn't even comprehend it like when he was in his early 20s, really. It's so interesting because I sort of could empathize with that a little bit because it's like when you're a little kid and something bad is happening to you, I feel like when you're a kid, you don't see yourself as a victim, really, especially if you trust the person immensely, and especially if you, like, that person's
and they
your
didn't
idol,
feel like it was bad.
But then, like, when Wade Robson said it was like when I had a kid and I understood, like, children, that's when I realized, like, oh my god, what was done to me is so terrible.
Right. Between the people in even just those 2 immediate families, the numbers of lives that have been like completely thrown off course and like not destroyed. These people are finding ways to work through their trauma. Hopefully families are coming back together, but like, Wade Robson's his mother left his father, who mentally ill father, in Australia, and this child who was like 9 to go follow Michael Jackson because that is how good he was at not only grooming her child but also grooming her. What he said, I think, when he was arguing with Wade's mom about like letting Wade live with him, it was like, I always get what I want.
You think about people who do those types of things, and you think about, it's like, oh, they cannot handle not getting what they want. They can't handle it so much that they feel the need to actively hurt someone to get what they want. It's so crazy, that mentality. I can't wrap my head around it. But I guess Michael Jackson, he's been so insanely famous since he was a child.
And like he, you know, sure, he was also a victim of abuse. Joe Jackson treated him like an adult, like he was the workhorse of that family when he was 5 years old. And but it's to say, like, well, he had choices. Michael Jackson had access to everything in the world. If he wanted to work through his trauma, go talk to someone, figure out why he felt the way he felt, and work through it, that would be one thing, and that is the path to go on. But then the fact that he becomes the abuser, and that's what happened to R. Kelly too. He was sexually abused as a kid, and then instead of working through that pain, he turned and became the abuser and just kept the cycle going and kept ruining people's fucking lives. And it's like, there are certain things that are unfucking forgivable, and touching a child in my eyes is unforgivable. I understand how much people love Michael Jackson because I have loved Michael Jackson that much, but no one's music or creative genius or artistic expression is worth hurting a child. This person, I cannot engage in any way. I'm not a separate the art from the artist person, because it's fucking bullshit. Michael Jackson is his music, he is his art, he is what he put out in the world, and he's also a pedophile who did not fix himself and ruined a lot of kids' lives.
Especially because when you're a singer, you are marketing yourself like, this song is me, this record is me, and everything. So it is kind of hard to separate the art from the artist, in regard to that. And, you know, that's not to say I will never listen to Michael Jackson again. I mean, it's kind of inevitable, I will hear it. And I will hear it, and, I might even enjoy it, because it's objectively great music, but, there will be something that I think of that goes with that, and that ruins the experience for me, you know?
And I understand people's unwillingness to let go, because I have so many childhood memories attached to specific songs, and so I get that. I'm not telling anyone else what to do. Everyone should do what they want with this information, but me personally, I can't do it. It's completely tainted. It's over. I want no part of him, and this is why you gotta stand women, because women don't do this fucking shit. Mariah is not coming up with this. Beyonce is not coming up with this. Janet even, his own fucking sister, is an icon and not a fucking person who ruins people's lives. Ugh!
I mean, it also kind of shows, all the people who are, you know, defending him, they're like, no, but he was Michael Jackson, he's done so much good in the world, he was such an angel, but I knew him, and blah blah blah, but it's you weren't behind those closed doors, you know? There are people who have done horrible things that also have done some good things, you know? You don't know these celebrities. You may think you do, but you don't. And you know, we joke all the time, I'm always like, Matt Palmer, what do you think Mariah thinks about this? And it's funny to sort of imagine, and you know, you can kind of guess, but you really don't know. For all those years, did you imagine that Mariah Carey was bipolar?
I mean, I don't know if that's the best example. I think we all knew something was wrong, but no one had put a name to it.
Okay, but it's sort of did you know that Beyonce and Jay-Z were having these troubles? You know?
I mean, these are bad examples.
Okay.
I understand what you're saying. Honestly, one of the scariest things about this to me was, as much as you can say, oh, did we know Mariah was bipolar? You know, what everyone did fucking know is that Michael Jackson had a young boy companion with him at all times.
Yeah.
It was the most open secret in the world. So it's not oh, Michael just travels with a bunch of kids, boys and girls all the time. He's always with one.
He's always
boy.
With one. I did not know the extent of that either. That was the most startling thing about watching.
And I knew that, and I would convince myself, no, he's just I don't believe he's a pedophile. I believe he's just a kid deep down. These are just people he relates to. He never grew up. But it's if I were 31 and looking at this man who had one little boy around him at all time, and they held hands
and went everywhere together and would be intimate with each other in public.
Yeah,
and the fact that this would just happen out in the open, and people were still this is wonderful. It
was a different time.
Seeing that, it was a different time.
Because now, that would never fly. That would never, ever, ever, ever fly today. And I feel there's a weird like racial thing about this, because I feel like there are some people, like black people, have held Michael Jackson so close and so tightly, and the idea of like completely erasing his legacy or tainting it with this documentary, blah blah blah, and it's like, I understand it, because like, of course, white people shit on black people unfairly all the time and like try to discredit people and steal credit from people, but it's like, this is different. These are children. I realize it can look from afar if you don't actually watch the documentary, like it's just like someone's trying to take him down or whatever, but then you watch it and it's like, no. I'm not gonna look at Wade Robson in the face and James in the face and be like, I think you're fucking lying, because like, I love Don't Stop Till You Get Enough. It's like, no, who the fuck am I?
Well, and you know, I am very much sort of like being open to whatever evidence is out there, and I'm sorry, all the evidence I have read that refutes this documentary doesn't hold up to me.
No.
It's not as strong as what I have heard from, especially like having the decades passed behind it. Right. It's just so much. It was a long watch, but a very emotional watch. I screamed at that TV. So I was just like, I could not believe it. And I am not one to be shocked easily. And I was very shocked by it.
Did you watch the Oprah thing afterwards?
Of course I did. Oprah really emphasized the fact that these people and their families were groomed, and how you don't, a lot of times young people aren't abused by people who they dislike, it's people who they love, and so there's weird conflicting feelings. And the thing is, like, Michael Jackson like groomed these families and everything, but the thing is, like, they were naturally groomed years prior. Through, like, the world was groomed to fall in love with Michael Jackson. So just having that on top of everything is just, whew, and just those families and like those mothers and the like guilt they have. It, like, everyone's lives are just turned upside down by this. Even the Jacksons family's lives are turned upside down because of this, because they have to grapple with the fact that their brother
I mean, at least if we're going off of what the estate is saying, they're not believing a word of it, but I'm sure individual members of the Jackson family, I assume there are some that do.
And the poor kids that, you know, in the boy in the 90s and the boy in 2005.
I know.
Like, those poor kids, the world was against them. And they were kids.
It's like, where are they now? I want interviews with them. Especially the kid from the 90s, because he like has not been seen since the case. Like, he has not had a public life anywhere since that case.
It was insane.
It was disgusting, it was horrifying, and you know what? Like, anyone who if we get a bunch of negative comments about this from Michael Jackson fans, watch the documentary and come back to me. Like, there's no possible way that you will feel as strongly as you felt towards Michael Jackson after you watch it.
I mean, we're gonna get those comments, because I guarantee you people are searching.
Well, fine, bitch. Hello. Thank you for the view. Thank you guys so much for watching. My name is Matt Palmer Music.
My name is Matt Steele.
And follow us on Twitter and Instagram. Follow both of us at 2Gay Mats for an extra $1 an episode. Patreon.com/2GayMats. You can get a bonus video from us every single week and other, rewards. So make sure to do that. And we'll be back soon with another brand new 2Gay Mats.
Thanks, guys. Thank you, Adam Parnell.
Okay, bye.